Good morning, everybody. I want to welcome you to our first ProStitcher, aka Mastery class. And I really hope that in doing this, that you learn how to better use your ProStitcher and you begin to feel more confident in what you're doing. Today is December the 17th, and that means that everybody is getting ready to either leave town, get people in, wrap gifts, just getting ready for the holidays. And it's a very busy time of the year. And even if you're not getting ready for the holidays, trying to get around town is also very trying because traffic is increased and tempers are also increased and patience is at an all-time low. So our first one is going to be a very basic mastery class on the ProStitcher, and we are just going to go down the road of review. We're going to go over our tabs and our ribbons and find out what can we do, where is that button, and that will be what we'll be doing today. Our goal is to make sure that these are not over 15 minutes long so that you're not stuck watching us for a long time. And by us, I mean me or Sharon. And so we really hope that these will be informative, and we hope that they will give you a lot of information. So we are going to get started. So today, what I want you to do is either just listen or pull up your computers and open up your ProStitcher simulator and just kind of move along with us or with me today and just kind of look and see what have you got on your screen. For any Moxie users, if you have something that we're talking about on ProStitcher Premium and not ProStitcher Lite, if it is not in black, you can't select it, so it's not an option. So ProStitcher Lite is not as many bells and whistles, but it still can do pretty much anything you want it to do. So to get started, you have your screen open to your computer. You've pulled up your ProStitcher Premium or Lite, and what we're looking at is the empty workspace with all the little choices that we can make. So when you first pull it up, what we're going to discuss is all of these guys up here. So if you go to ProStitcher.com or you have a ProStitcher manual that you've printed out or it came with you, there is what's called a ProStitcher quick reference guide. And we will send this out with the link to the video, and you can look at it, or if you already have it, just reference your own. But the quick reference guide gives you the definition of everything that's on the screen, so that if you watch any other videos or go to any other classes, the nomenclature is the same and then you're not lost. So the first thing we're going to do is the name of all of these up here, all of these tabs are called tabs. Okay, it's like a file folder. So within each file folder are papers that, they've put in. And this part down here is called the ribbon area. So depending on what tab you have selected, like for instance, I have file, then this on the ribbon area are my choices. If I select, say, edit, you can see that nothing is available because it's all grayed out. So the only choices that you can make right now are the choices that are in black. The gray ones you cannot do anything with. Once I put a design on it, then those become black, and then I can do other things with that choice in the ribbon area. This right here, and I'm sorry, I've had a cough, and so I may be drinking, so it's not alcohol, unfortunately. It's a little early, but I may have to wet my throat, so I apologize for that. But this area right here is called the workspace toolbar. So there's different items here that you can use. And then over here on this side is the quick access toolbar. The quick access toolbar, you can customize and move those around or change them. And those are the choices that you frequently want to make that you put there. This is your help button right here. And you would use that if you need some on-screen help. And then this right here tells you about your motors. Right now, it has an S on it, so that means I'm in the simulate mode. If I ever use the simulate mode on my tablet and I don't change it back, my lines right here will be green and my Pro Stitcher won't move because I'm in the simulate mode. So I always look at my crosshairs to see what color they are. When I am not in the simulated mode, then these will be orange if my gears are connected, and they will be purple if not. If you can't remember what the color means, when you move your machine, it's very, very easy to move around. Your gears are probably not connected. If it has, it's a little bit heavier to move around, then your gears are probably connected. The other thing up here, there will be a lock. It'll be either locked or unlocked. It looks like a master lock. When it's locked, it'll be red. And when it's unlocked, I think it's green, but I'm not really sure. Can't remember. And I'm on the simulator mode, so I can't really look. But it'll be an open lock. This down here, the minus and the plus, will work as a zoom. Okay, you have a slide bar here that you can use as a zoom, or you can do smaller increments to increase or decrease what you're looking at. This is your home button. So if I've loaded a design and I've made an area and it's really big and I want it to fit into the screen, then I hit that home button and it brings it all to be within this screen that I have on my tablet. This one-to-one, if I'm loading a design and I want to see how much space is really in it, that is a one-to-one. It's the actual size of the design. Then this is if I want to zoom to the area or zoom to the design. Remember that the area is the boundaries that you're setting up for that design to be in, whether it's a block, it's an edge to edge, whatever. You're telling that computer, I want it to stitch within these parameters. So if you want it to zoom to that area, you're going to see that whole area. Then you have these right here, just tell you what's happening with the machine. I don't really pay attention to it because if my machine's moving, I don't really need to see this right here telling me it's moving because I can actually see what's happening. This here is select none. This is multi-select, and then this is select all. And we'll use those as we do other, different things. If you have more than one design, that's when you get to use, you start using those little guys there. Under my file tab, I have these choices right here. I can select a design. I can select a workspace. I can select an area. I can't save yet, but I could save a design if I had it open. I could close a design if I had one open. I could clear the design if I had one open. And this is also where you go and update your Pro Stitcher. And this is where you go to shut down. So if I wanted to shut down, I can shut the whole system down, which will shut down my computer. If I want to reboot, okay, you can reboot it. If I just want to get to the windows, I can just exit to the windows. So when you're updating, you have to completely shut this down after you update, or you're going to have problems with the update. It kind of glitches and everything. If I go to edit, let's put a design in to get these tabs where we have more selection. I can go to design, and then down here is all the designs that I've used prior. It kind of cleans itself out, so you can't really just like clear the design history. But let's go to open. And these are the Handy Quilter designs. I'm on Sharon's computer. We're kind of going to look. So these are different designs that she has within her system. So we're going to go to the Handy Quilter designs. And we are going to choose, let's choose this one. Oh, but you know what? Let's see if we can find the blocks. There we go. So under the HQ designs, you're going to have different designers that have donated designs to Handy Quilter. You also have areas. So if you made an area and you save it, you want to always save it in areas so you know where to find it. We're going to choose blocks, and let's just choose this one. So once you touch it, it will turn black. And if you look down here, it tells you it's block 16 HQF. Right here are the formats that the Pro Stitcher recognizes: the HQF, the HQV, and the QLI. So if you ever purchase anything, these are the formats that you're looking for. Once you have something selected and it turns a color of black, press open and it brings it into the screen. So now under file, do you see everything is all black? So I can save it, I can close it, I can clear it, and the others are available as well. So on area, if I do open, that's not making an area. If I have any areas saved, then I could save an area in here or open one that I have. Sharon has no areas, so that's why there's nothing in that folder. The other thing is right here, there's edit, and under edit, here's a history of what I'm doing with this design. So far, all I've done is load it. I haven't done anything else. I can undo anything I've done. And do you see how I just clicked on history again and it turned gray? That means that my design isn't selected anymore because it's gray. All I have to do is touch on it and it turned black again. If I don't want it, I can cut it. If I want to copy it and have two of them, I can copy, I can duplicate, or I can clear all. If I am going to do two of these designs, I most of the time will use duplicate. I don't use copy very much at all. I want to interject and say, please remember, there's multiple ways of doing the same thing. So just because this is how I do it doesn't necessarily mean that's how Sharon does it, or it doesn't necessarily mean this is the way you will always do it. You may figure out a different way that you like. So please remember multiple ways of doing different things. This is area. If I want to tell where do I want this to stitch, I have to create an area. I have to create boundaries to put this design in. I can do a 2-corner, which means I go to the upper top of my quilting space and to the lower right of my quilting space. I personally use that most of the time for edge to edge. If I'm doing a block, if it's a perfectly square block, I can do a 2-corner. If it's a triangle, I have to use a multi-point because 2 area points are not going to be enough. If my square is wonky, I do multiple points because I need to make sure that wonky square is got an accurate area around it, or my design will be outside of where I want it to be. Quilting space is good because it tells you your quilting throat space. So I will use it if I'm unsure if I have a design and I've made it a certain size, will it fit in my quilting space, and will that next design work on the next row? So a lot of times I will do my quilting space. Under modify, this is where you do any changes that you want to this design, rotating it, repositioning it, resizing it, cropping it. Align and skew will be available once you create an area, because you're telling that design, get in that area that I told you to get into, because that's where we're going to be. And you can swap the start and stop. You may have a design where you want that start and stop swapped. You may duplicate a design. Right now, our start and stop is at the same place. But if they were different, you may want to alternate one of them so that the start and the stop of two designs can hook up, and then it can keep going or make two. I don't use that one very often, but that's pretty much what it's for. And as you're using these tab areas, you might notice over here, all of this keeps changing. We go back to area, changed over here. Go back to edit, it changed over here. Go back to file, and it's kind of the same. So this is a sidebar, and these have different choices that are connected to what tab you're using. So under file, it's telling me how big my block is. If I look at workspace, all that's on my workspace, which means how many items do I have on my workspace? I only have this block, okay? On my edit tab, the same thing. I can write notes if I wanted to write something like this block is great, or don't use it, or overstitching, too much overstitching, which means when it stitches, it goes over itself how many times, If I go to area over here, and it's not highlighted because I haven't done anything, then it has the width and the height of the area that I want to stick it into, and how many points there are, and snapping it, whether I want it to snap to grid or not. And we'll get into snapping to grid another time. Modify, over here, everything you can do. Over here, if I have rotate, see how rotate is green? Then this is everything that it allows me to do in rotate. I can turn it 45 degrees. I can mirror it or flip it. And on this design, you're not going to know what I did, so I'm not going to choose it. And I can do a custom rotation, and I can rotate it to 2 points. A 2-point rotation, you can't see it. So we are going to reset everything, and it just flipped back. If I want to reposition it, I can reposition it to the start point, to the end point, center, drag 0, and then top left of my area, bottom left of my area, top right, bottom right, or just moving it around. Most of the time, if I am repositioning something, I'm using the nudge. And right here, it says 0.01. I can change that because moving it 0.01 takes forever. So if I know I can go like even half an inch, I can go to 0.5 and enter. And then now when I move it, it moves by 0.5. And once I get it close to where I want, I can go back to 0.01 and just do those very small movements and get it where I want. If I want it back to the center point, and that's telling you, look at your lines right here. This is your X and your Y axis. It is going to align it back to the center of that XY axis. That's what you're looking at right here. Resizing, you can resize by width, by height, or you can lock it and it will resize equally. So it's 5.37. And if I do this, do you see how it's going up just width and height? If I unlock it and I just keep going up, it now makes it more oblong. If I don't like that at all, I just do no resize and can put it back. To crop it, it's not highlighted right now. If I have it if I have an area selected and it's bigger than my area and I want to crop what's outside of my area, and we will be doing this with our pantograph and you'll get the idea, then I can crop it outside of the area that I've made And then I can close those edges because I'll have a ton of start and stops. And then I can save it, and then I will have a nice clean design. If I want to repeat the design, I can repeat it horizontally and vertically. So on vertically, when I do two of them, do you see how they're connected right here? Sometimes when you're bringing in two things, you have a gap. So when you have a gap between two designs, whether it's a row or two of them, you may want to increase the gap or decrease the gap. So I'm going to increase this gap so you can see what I'm talking about. So let's say I have these two and I don't want them to be right on top of each other, right? What if I wanted to move them over? Where would I go? I would go either to modify or, and if in modifying, you'd have to do one at a time, which means I'd have to unselect them and select the one I want to work with, or I go over here. So basic and wrap, I'm under repeat. So on basic, you can make repeats, you can change your gap, both horizontal and vertical. If I go to wrap, I have a window now, and this is on vertical, and I can increase it by half or by numerically. If I go over to horizontal, I have window, row, gap. Look at this. If I do it by half, oh, I don't like that at all. So let's like bring that back. So this is 2.69. Let's try a 0 now and see if we can get that back. Let's do the row by half. And do you see, look what's happening to our points. We're getting more and more points because it's going outside of the area where this is, although we haven't made an area. So now I'm coming to vertical, and I'm going to bring them closer together. And do I like how that looks? I've parked it up next to each other. You see how these two touch? Let's see what happens if we move the row a little bit more. Oop. How about a bit? So now I have these two designs that are kind of parked next to each other. And let's go back to basic. Let's repeat some more on the horizontal side. Let's see what happens. Look at that. Have we made a weird design? Absolutely. Will this be a pain in the neck to quilt? Absolutely. Because let's go down here to zoom, and I'm going to zoom in. And when you're zooming, you're going to lose your picture and you want to say, hey, I want to look at something specific. You can remember, you can zoom like this, or when I get up big enough, you see these little slider tabs? Then you can move to where you want to see. What I want to show you is right here. Do you see how it's red and green? Start and stop. So every single one of these guys is a start and a stop. So you'll do one, start and stop. One, start and stop. So yes, this would be a pain in the neck to do. So that is not a design I would pick to duplicate. When you get over onto the Pro Stitcher tab, you have all of these choices. A half stitch, which means the needle will go down or it'll go up depending on what position it's in. A full stitch, an up and down. A follow, if you turn your follow on and it starts quilting, then the crosshairs stay within this view. And I did that one time and I thought I was a drunk woman who doesn't drink. It was making me so dizzy, I turned it off. This is a measure button, so you can use it to measure your whatever you want to measure. So I can just go down and let's see. Let's see. I don't really use this, so read your manual. Okay. So anyway, you use that to measure. I don't ever use it, you can tell. The base button, so if you need to baste, you can use that button here. It's under Pro Stitcher. This quilt button has to be lit before the Pro Stitcher will turn on. If it's not, do you see how this is gray? So if you make changes, this quilt button will turn off, and it drove me crazy because that was one of the new things that came on the update, and I thought my Pro Stitcher broke. I couldn't get it to start. So always make sure your quilt button is on and you're ready to go. Your channel lock, you can have a channel lock horizontal or vertical. Make sure that is not on when you turn your Pro Stitcher on, or you'll be ripping out some material, that's for sure, and really screwing things up. The move button, you can have it move continuously, and you can have it stitch. You can have it do 5 times. So I could make it, this would be stitching right now, and then this would be putting it back. Okay. I don't ever use that because you have to turn it on and off here. And so when I'm watching my quilts, I don't want to try and look up because I don't have fast reactions. So if I do it, I am not going to do it really fast. See how fast that's going? I will slow it down. See how much slower that's going, because I need to be able to get to that stop sign. Let's see, let me get back to 0. All right, then we have a new start, new end. You will be using that when you have a thread break, and or if we wanted to crop a part out, then we would have a new start and end. If you want to make your own design like your name, you can do record and turn your gears off, and then you do this, and then it'll save it, and then that'll make, you know, your own design. The gears are orange, that means they're connected. If the gears are purple with a line through it, that means they're not connected. If you hit that after you've done your area and you turn your gears off and then put them back on, you will lose your place and you're going to have to reposition everything. Your run status, you see how this run button is disabled, quilt panel is not open, select quilt from the ribbon. So let's do this. And it just tells you run status button is enabled, okay? So you have your help and then your motors. On your view screen right here, you have rulers. You can show a ruler, you can turn your grid off. I always leave mine on. If I turn off the scroll, you see how my little side things left, and so that was my when I zoom, that's moving my design where I can see it. So I always have my scroll on. Transparency, that just means you're going to not see part of it. If it gets over here, it'll disappear. The area, I always want to see what area I've chosen. I want to see my design. If I made an area, the area is different from the bounds. The bounds show the quilting space that this little design needs. My area may be totally different, but this shows how much space I need for that. I don't leave that one on. If I want a rubber band around it, it just will put this rubber band around the outside of it. And you can actually do other things with rubber band, but we're not getting into that today. I want to see my jumps, which means if I had more than one design, I want to see, like, it stitches out a row and then I have the end point and then it has dotted line that'll come over to the start. I want to see where those jumps are, because that's going to tell me, oh, I'm going to stop here, but I'm going to need to move over here. I want to see my starting end, and design points are all the points that someone used to make this. When you had a thread break and you put your needle back and you told her, hey, start here, this is where I broke my thread. What would happen before they did the update is that if I broke a thread here and I went and filled my bobbin up or whatever, took care of the problem, and I put my needle here, I did a tie down. I said, okay, start here. Well, then the machine would jump all the way over here to the start, to this design point. So I'd have this big gap right here. Well, on the update, what happened was, which was a great thing, if I broke a thread here, then it would go ahead and start here instead of jumping to the design point. But this will show you all the different design points that a design will have in it. If I go to the toolbar, if you have this, it has a Pro Stitcher selection, or Pro Stitcher Designer selection. If you don't have Pro Stitcher Designer, it's just not going to work. If you have Pro Stitcher Designer, this is where you go to just like bring it in if you need to use it. Under Pro Stitcher tab, back to all of these, I look over here and look at your selections. If you want the machine to stitch it, if you don't, turn it off and run it and see where it's going to go. Sometimes I'll do that. When I have mine selected, I want it to tie off at the start. I want it to tie off at the end most of the time. And I want it to pull up. I want it to pause so I can pull up the bobbin. I personally don't use pull up auto, because what that means is that it will go down, the needle goes down, it comes up to pull up that bobbin thread, and then the machine moves out of the way. Well, if my bobbin thread isn't very long, when that machine moves, it loses the bobbin thread and went back under. So I don't have pull up auto on. And then I can have the stitch off and tell it, I want you to trace the boundaries and I want to see what it looks like. If I do run, you have this come on, and I turned off the stitching right here. I just want the machine to move. If I look right here, it's going to air stitch. Okay. This is the speed at 100 and stitches per inch is 12. The auto jump is 6 inches. You have a 2-second delay, but that's all the settings there are. So if you look over here, it went up to the corner and it's just stitching kind of a box. That's the bounds. Remember, does it fit within the area that I have? Okay. Right here, before it turns off, one of the things that you can select from right here is the OptiStitch. If you look at this green tab, how did I find that? It wasn't on the Pro Stitcher tab. Remember, that's all over here. If I go up to the settings tab, I have even more choices. And this drove me crazy because I was trying to find stitch stats. So always remember, look under settings and see what you have. You have display defaults OptiStitch. How fast is this machine going to run? I don't run mine at 100%. I will bring mine down to about 75 and I say here in about 40, 44. If I have a really small design or something that I don't want the machine moving too fast, like I was using mono poly thread, and no, it wasn't mono poly. I was using a glow in the dark thread. It was an embroidery thread. So you have to look at your threads. Are they delicate threads? Are they workhorse threads? This was a delicate thread. So I brought the speed down into the 50s and I brought the acceleration down into the 30s so that I wouldn't have a lot of thread breakage. So speed percent right here is how fast the machine's going to move. It will slow itself down, like say when it comes into the circles or whatever, but on these straight paths, it'll go 76% of the full machine speed. Acceleration, how fast is it going to come into this point and how fast is it going to come out? You don't want that big machine slamming in and slamming out of that design. So I kind of run it about 30 below of what I'm running my machine at. If I don't want to customize it, I turn it off and cross my fingers and I let the machine decide. So you can tell I never do that. So another thing over here is an auto jump. I can look over here, and an auto jump is how far away is that machine going to move to pull up that bobbin thread, and she has it set at 6 inches. That's huge. And so you can customize that to make it smaller if you're going to use that auto jump. Stitches per inch, your choice, 12 being harder to pull out than 11. 10 is easier to pull out. I personally stitch in usually 11. If I have micro quilting to do, I will go up to 13. My basting stitch is at 1/4 of an inch. My tie offs is how many times do I want that to go down to tie off. This one is set at 2. I might set it at like 4. I don't want a ton because I don't want knots on the bottom. The pull up, I want it to pull up when it's going to start, and I need that bobbin thread, but I personally don't want it to move away from that point. I will move it away and pull up the bobbin thread myself, and then I'll put it back. The pause delay, how many seconds do you want it to wait to have you pull up that thread? I have mine at 2 seconds. Cut the thread where you go and cut your thread. It doesn't do it itself. The stitch stats, this is what I was looking for the other day, and it took me forever to find it because nobody ever said, oh, it's the settings tab and it's right here. If they just said, oh, over here, it's like, how did they get there? So, you know, even I learned stuff after I've been doing this forever. Stitch stats tells me this little design has 720 stitches. It's going to take me 44 seconds to stitch it, and it's 59 inches of thread. I kind of was interested the other day, how long is this going to take to stitch? Because I have to go and run an errand at this time. Will I finish this before I go? And remember, it doesn't account for thread breaks. It doesn't account how fast you roll a quilt or you piddle around in between getting it started. So this tells you once it starts, it's going to go for 44 seconds. So that's a pretty fast design. Under advanced, you have all of this pop up, and the thread break sensor, some of the machines have it. Turn it on if you have it. It will tell you when your upper thread breaks, and that'll happen when you run out of bobbin. Verify before you quilt, that's that pop-up that showed me that I was in air stitching and how many stitches per inch I had. I always want to look at that. Simulation on or off. It's on right now because I'm on the simulator. I want my design to load at this point right here at my crosshairs. I want it to be on the XY axis, so that's where mine is set. If I go to communications, if I need to reconnect the motors or reconnect the machine for some odd reason, then I can select it from here as well. The speed profile, I don't change it. That's what they set the default at. Okay, stitches per minute. When it's running, it can do up to 1,800. Good luck if you're running it that fast. And the logging, I don't know anything about any of that. I leave it alone. And then your motors, your motor torque, I don't do anything with that either. I figured they knew better than I did. I just leave all that alone. So that's under your general tab. Under your information, I can touch an area. I'm sorry, under information over here, you have a help button, and then you also have about. So if you want to know what, I use this to find out what version of software I'm on. And this is the numbers you look at right here, 537. If you're not on 537, then you need to go ahead and update. If you have an older tablet, you may not be able to get up to 537. But that right now is the most current. And every now and again, you can go check at ProStitcher.com and see what version they're on. The help is, it pops up over here, and it is the owner's operator's manual that you can look at. Okay. All right. So that is your workspace in a nutshell. And I have gone almost 30 minutes, so I apologize. And we will stop here. So your homework is to go around and look at your different tabs. And in your quick reference guide that we sent you, it has a couple of different pages, and it will tell you the what the different icons mean and what they are for. And so I want you to kind of look over this quick reference guide. Our goal for our next one is to get you started on a pantograph. And so we will be sending out information on what you need to have available. And what we want you to do is we will give you the measurements for fabric that we want you to have ready to load. We are going to be loading a design on our tablets, and we are going to set it up to do an edge to edge. So watch your emails and get your fabric ready. And we also may not be sending out just one video per month for the edge to edge. One may be, let's get our design set up. And the next one may be, okay, now we're going to start stitching it. And we aren't going to make it very big because we do want you to be able to finish. We do not want anything that we have for you to do to stay on the frame. We want you to do your homework and get it back off so that if you're working on other projects, you're not stuck waiting for us for a month. So I'm very happy that you have joined us, and I apologize for going over 15 minutes. This may tell us we may need 30, I don't know. But please email us back with any questions or you don't understand something, and we will go ahead and address that. I am going to close my design. So I'm going to file, and I can do close, and I can do, see how selected or workspace is open. If I do workspace, it took away, remember we were looking at stitching the bounds. So it took all of that away. And then when I want to shut down, I will go to shut down and it will shut everything off. The other thing is the last thing, when you turn your machine on and your Pro Stitcher on, remember it's machine first, Pro Stitcher second. When you turn off, it's Pro Stitcher first, machine second. Remember too that at the end of the day, when you're done, turn everything off, unplug from the wall, because if you had a brownout and it damaged your Pro Stitcher, it will not be covered under warranty if you have a warranty on it. So be sure and unplug from the wall, and be sure that when you are using it, you are on a surge protector. And if it is old, treat yourself this Christmas to a new surge protector. So thank you for joining us, and I hope you have a wonderful day, and please do your homework and please keep up. So we appreciate you. Bye-bye.